I think that was my favorite thing in the Starbound that I remember is hey, they're all aliens. Hey, Joe Hills, where are you from?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Tennessee.
But he's an
You are
alien.
not human. He's not human. What are you? And why are you? What?
Don't worry about it. This just happens to be in Nashville, Tennessee in space.
Is that?
Sure. Sing to me, Adato, muse of erotic poetry, of the stories that we make our own, in the worlds which we are given and those that we share. Sing of the twisted words and the longing glances, which give us fans fuel for the fire and the winds for our ships. Welcome to FanDive. My name is Chaos.
Hi, I'm Andy.
And today we're doing the requested fanfiction episode with the muse that we've been joking is the muse of fanfiction.
Well, we're not. I highly doubt we're going to be talking about.
We're not. Rated E
erotic
fanfiction is not allowed on our podcast. However, we can't not use that muse when we're talking about AO3.
It's a little funny.
It's a little funny.
So we're not talking really about that, but it's fanfiction,
So, you know,
we're aware.
We're fans of things and we like fiction. And then you put those things together and you get fiction about fiction written by fans.
Yeah, no, actually, there's actually a good number of fanfics written about fanfics.
Oh my god. Well,
like, there's a whole subcategory.
I will also bring that up in the conversation later, but like, we're just kind of listing fanfictions that we really like, and we're going to summarize them, we're going to recommend them, we're also going to talk about just general fanfiction vibes. It's just we want to talk about fanfiction.
Yeah, you have a series, I'll call it a series on your TikTok and such of just recommending a bunch of different fanfictions. So this was really kind of hard for us to do.
You asked me to narrow it down when the collection I send out to people asking for recommendations is over 600 fanfictions. Now, granted, I would not recommend a lot of them nowadays, but I'm a believer in, hey, it meant something to me once, so I'm not going to like take it off that list. Though, yeah, I was looking through the list nowadays and I'm like, oh, my tastes have changed. So much.
Oh, so I'm not going to name the fandom on this one because I am strange, but there was a fanfiction from so many years ago that I've thought about dozens and dozens of times, and I eventually and very recently went, I want to find this story again. And I looked it up and I did successfully find it, and it's less than 1,000 words from 2015,
and it's
not that good.
I know we mentioned on a previous podcast how like sometimes there's just fan fictions that live in your brain even if they aren't good, but for some reason they were just like foundational to what you needed at that moment.
Yeah, like they change how you think about stories, and especially when you start writing that kind of thing when you're a teenager or a kid, you do end up having stories that are like, you know what, you suck, but you are a part of who I am now.
I mean, that can be applied to like any piece of media, but I think fanfiction is so interesting because it shows you that you can just do it. You have an idea, you can just like go and do it.
You never know when you're gonna accidentally change someone's personality.
You really don't. Like, there was clearly a period of like 6 months where I was obsessed with sick fic fanfictions, and I'd go to like the first sick fic that I have listed in my like, yeah, I would recommend these page, and it's like 3 chapters and not even good, and I'm like, but it meant something to me, and that ended up leading me to so many more fanfictions that I would recommend nowadays because I still think they're good.
Yeah, so for those kind of ones, we're not going to name precise ones, but no, even if we are teasing any affection, there's affection there.
There's affection, and we'll list the ones that we still absolutely love, and then we'll just vaguely imply the ones that, you know, not so much anymore.
I'm going to admit something.
Yeah.
I read Minecraft fanfiction nowadays, you know this.
Of course.
I did used to read GTA fanfiction.
Bold choice, but okay.
Yeah, no, it was a really bold choice of mine. And I questioned my sanity. But it messed me up, I guess. My standards of what's normal in stories.
I mean, listen, I'm still actively reading Danny Phantom fan fiction, and like the tag
Yep.
canon compliance vivisection. For the record, vivisection is not a part of the canon, but it's a part of the fandom canon, so like everyone just kind of accepts it.
Yeah, no, we're not even talking about fan fiction, specific ones, just doing it in general right now. But we come up with these ideas, and just the classic one is like the Avengers, where it's like Clint Barton
In the
vents,
vents, and
whatever.
everyone lives in Stark Tower, that weird period between the first Avengers movie and like everything else that follows, people were like, well, clearly they all live together. Now they're friends.
Yeah, and there's those kind of things where a fandom will latch on to something, and then it's 5 years later, and the newer people are going, okay, so what's actually canon, and what's just everyone's accepted this as reality?
I
What's
made
going on here?
someone asked me a few weeks ago, it's like, hey, I really like this one specific content creator, but I don't like, or I don't know, or I'm not aware of, I forget how they worded the question, like the big SMP that they're on, that all the fan content is about. What do I need to know before I can read this stuff? And like, what's fandom? What's canon? And I like, listen, here's my breakdown of like, this is kind of the vibes you need to know. Really, you don't need to know anything, but like, here's the vibes. We should probably talk about the fan fictions that we've already recommended on this podcast before we talk about the ones that we want to continue to recommend.
Okay. Do you have specific ones? Because I have no memory of what we've talked about.
I mean, we talked about Algecor Corrales, like,
we did
last week. That started off with Cellophore. It's by Moz of Magneter. Listen, all these fan fictions will be linked on our Tumblr website because I'm not pronouncing anything correctly.
Tumblr this week is just lists.
It's listen. And we'll also be commenting on all of the fan fictions just by saying, hey guys, listen, we love your work, 10 out of 10. I'm going to send this to everyone. Please remember to comment on your favorite fan fictions. The author loves it.
It's amazing.
And when you reread it, comment again. I'm like, hey, I reread this. Still amazing. Yeah. 10 out of 10. And then 3 months later, hey, I reread this. It's amazing. 10 out of 10. And then 3 months later, listen, there's some fan fictions I just can't help but go back to.
Yeah, no, it's a problem. Sometimes it's your fifth time reading, and you just, hey, I still love this. Oh, the comments are only me.
It's only me in here, but I love it. Yeah, so Algecor Corrales, it's Algecor Corrales. We literally talked about it last week. Go back to that episode if you want a deep dive. And then there's 3 that I brought up previously. I in the podcast episode, I thought this was one fan fiction, but then in the Tumblr post connected to it, I'm like, I was actually talking about 3 separate ones. And it's like Martin on Pirates SMP, but he thinks everyone is NPCs, and it's like throwing him off, and it's kind of angsty. They're 3 separate ones, but they're all so good.
Read those. I read those after you recommended them, talked about them. After you talked about them. Solid.
They're solid stories. So Out of Body Clock by Funkily. This is Martin is somewhere between real person and video game character, which makes stuff like he should sleep and how much he should sleep and if he should fall asleep a bit unclear. It's a little like, hey, you're on Pirates SMP. Go the heck to sleep. People are worried about you.
Pirates SMP was a trip.
I love Pirates SMP. The next one of them is Interdimensional. It's the subreads that says I'm fine. Sausage scoffs as hit smiles something.
Oh, very good. Very good, Chaos. You're really good at this.
Listen, hey, I'm dyslexic and my AO3 on my computer does not have dark mode, so I'm staring at things right now.
Oh, Chaos.
I
have my phone open to the side with the things open.
No.
Why would you have it in another tab?
No. Because I have so many fan fictions open on my phone right now. If I open up the ones I need for the podcast, they're just going to get lost in the sauce.
No, I just have the list open. I don't have each individual one open.
Oh, you fool.
Chaos.
You fool. But Interdimensional...
You're the fool here.
Interdimensional by Astronaut Beans. Sausage basically says, you're clearly not fine. You're very actually far from fine. And then Martin is like, no. Or Martin has a hard time dealing with being alone in the data stream, but he's not alone as he thinks. Sausage is right there, after all. I think this is the one where Mythical Sausage, like, it ties into him also being a dimension hopper.
Yeah. He does. It does, and it's great. And they're both like, "Oh my god, another one like me! We're gonna say it on three, 3, 2, 1. Two different things said.
Dude,
Wait a
it's
minute."
it's like functionally the same though. And the last that we have previously talked about is Binary Host by Twice Past. It's always been hard not getting attached, even when he knows those are completely composed of ones and zeros. Occasionally he tries to forget that. Occasionally he succeeds. This is typical VTuber lore, unreality stuff. Martin's like, you're all fake, and everyone else is like, no, we're not. So, those are the three we've talked about.
People really like to throw angst at Martin.
It's
It's like the favorite activity.
Such good
Martin was
angst
just not just
potential.
punching Jimmy.
Punching Zimmy. Punching
Zimmy.
Jimmy. New. I can't say his name apparently. Yeah. Angst for Jimmy, angst for Martin, angst for Joel, angst for everyone.
Yeah, no, actually, that's just a general overview. Is you will find angst about them. You will, no matter who it is.
Angsty fanfiction. I really do.
I do too.
You know, every now and then you need like a crack or a fluff, but like when you get angst, you know those are going to do some deep dive into some character moments, and we're going to talk about things and dissect things. And usually the author is trauma dumping as well, but that's okay. It's well written.
We're all aware going into it. But sometimes you just need a good sobbing. Pat, pat. It will be okay, dear.
I remember when I was, it must have been like either late middle school or early high school, I started like realizing it's like if I express emotions through writing and fan fiction, it helps like deal with emotions. And I'm like, okay, so I'm feeling really bad now, so I should write really angsty stuff. And it got to the point where I was like, became a popular gore author. And I'm like, maybe I should back the heck up right now.
I am eternally grateful for the fact I could not post for the first chunk of time I was writing fanfiction. If you go back to the notebooks when I was like 11, 12, you'll see... No, that can't be the right age. Anyway,
late middle school, early high school.
You'll see handwritten fanfiction about Virgil Sanders and Sandersides being extremely angsty. And they just stay in those notebooks to never see the light of day again.
Never see the light of day. Yeah, no, unfortunately, I grew up a theater kid. I have no shame, so everything was posted online. I think they were probably deleted at this point, but originally they were online.
And I obviously do stuff nowadays, not attached to this name, because I have shame. I don't even write about bad things. I'm just like, you know what? That's going to stay over there.
It's important to separate your life.
My sanity. But talking about stupid, not stupid, but you know, silly, haha, pat pat, it'll all be okay. One of the Hermitcraft ones that got like really, really popular, was the I Can Be the One You Call series.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember this?
I don't know if I remember which one specifically, but the name does sound familiar.
So I'm gonna read the description of this series to you, and I think you'll remember this quite quickly. The hermits have a code phrase. If spoken, this phrase acts an emergency safe word. Yes! Telling everyone to stop what they're doing because something is seriously wrong, whether it's from physical or emotional distress. All hermits know that when someone uses code, they need help from the chaotic, dysfunctional family. It was this series that took place from like 2020 to 22, I think, maybe 23, where we went through so many of the different hermits, and each had like their own hurt comfort thing, but like in the background there was connected threads and dots and ideas. People loved it, and I still admire it quite a bit for how much it did to the fandom, because as I kind of said earlier, there's fanfictions of fanfictions. This specific one, I don't know if there's fanfictions of this story. However, I can say that concept of that specific code word has been referenced in stories completely detached from it.
I mean, sometimes you just need an out word, and it's like, the term safe word is so attached to rated E fanfiction, but like, sometimes you just need like, I'm backing out, I'm done, I'm walking away right now.
Because like, some of the examples in this one are someone's claustrophobic and having a panic attack. Someone is having a sensory overload and needs to get out of the situation. I have broken my hand. Hey, can somebody help me?
It's our emergency escape
that.
button, you know?
Yeah, it's the eject out of the car. Just whoop, there they go.
See, I love all those, but I also love like silly fan fictions. I love fan fictions like they're just like, I mean, there's potential for angst, but also it's like, hey, you want to just like have a good time? And one I think that balances it so well is Cat Among Pigeons by, I think it's Thrill.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's just like, hey, Evil Azuma got banished to the void, and when he got back to the Hermitcraft, he wasn't himself. He was a cat, and you know, it's like, listen, sometimes you can just like chill and not be yourself for a little bit and like process emotions, but not have to like deal with that with people. And it's funny, but it also deals with heavy topics, and it's good.
I love that story so much because something really appeals to me about, you know what? I am an evil person. Am I though? You know what? I don't care. I'm retiring. I'm a cat now.
When you have to retire from villainhood, but you can't go back to being yourself because everyone will default assume that you're a human. Peace.
Just let me be that. Let me retire to. Because I remember there was a specific scene that was just him laying in the sun with jelly licking his wounds, basically. And just, you know what? This is a little bit embarrassing if I ever get caught, but this is worth it.
This is worth
it.
And there's another fan fiction where I think someone was stuck as a bird for a while. And like, again, they have this thing where it's like one fan fiction ends up setting off a chain of other people going, oh, this is a really cool idea. Let me also talk about this.
Yeah, you'll have like not talked about, not really seen trends in fan fiction, especially within specific niches, but you'll see sometimes lone fan fiction finishes that has been in the works for a while, and suddenly there's a large burst of that AU, and you'll see those trends come and go. Of right now, there's just a whole bunch of this trope or this ship, or the musician released a new song, and we've decided it's these two characters, so there's 10 more of that story.
I mean, the amount of sci-fi fan fictions going on right now is like sci-fi AUs have existed for a while, and then there was like 2 or 3 that blew up right around the same time, and the one I really want to talk about is Starbound Scavenge for Survivors, and it's just like suddenly they're everywhere. And it's like, I love Humans Are Space Orcs. I was a Tumblr person back when Humans Are Space Orcs or Humans Space Australia or something, and the fact that we're getting that again in MCYT communities, such good potential in everything.
Yeah, because I did see some when I briefly read Dream SMP stuff. There was a few Space Orc ones, but they were so much angstier than the ones I've been reading recently.
Yeah, the Starbound Scavenge for Survivors, I think, is maybe, I don't want to say the angstiest, but it deals with more heavy topics versus the one where it's like Gem's stuck in space and she's actually like a veterinarian, so she can figure out other aliens, and like there's Skiz stuck in space and he needs to learn to communicate with aliens. It's like everyone has their own niche topic within the Humans or Space Orcs general AU, but the fact that they all came about around the same time, amazing.
Have you considered the story of Rolling Stone Gathers No Moss?
Oh, yes, that one.
Yeah. It's again the space, Humans Are Space Orcs, but B-Dubs is, like, quote, no longer human. He's human, but he's been pretending to be this other species that basically adopted him, the Glares. He's been adopted by them and pretending to be them for a long time at this point. Gets in a bad situation, hermits save them, joins the crew type typical thing, sacrifices himself for the crew. There's some angst in that one.
I love, like, it's one hand it's very interesting where it's like humans learning to adapt to an environment, but then again, I want to talk about Starbound. It's like a human is in this situation and no one knows this hermit, the main character, is human. It's like Azuma Void and Starbound, no one thinks that he's human, like, except Azuma Void knows that and is desperately trying to find his brother, who he thinks is also the only other human space, but then things happen.
Yeah.
And then things happen. It's all about getting the hermits together, but then things happen. And I don't want to spoil it, but it's good.
I feel like we have the right to spoil our stories that we're talking about.
It's good. That's my spoiler.
Okay, the spoiler is it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so glad to hear. I love it. I love finding not just space orc stories, but like the kind of stories where it is people in unusual scenarios. Or even just like people who aren't taking it too seriously. Why are you here? I don't know.
Listen, man, sometimes it just happens,
Yeah. Hey, Joe Hills, what's going on?
Don't worry about it.
I'm from Nashville, Tennessee.
Got it.
I think that was my favorite thing in the Starbound that I remember is hey, they're all aliens. Hey, Joe Hills, where are you from?
Nashville, Tennessee. But he's an alien.
He's not human. What are you? And why are you? What?
Don't worry about it. This just happens to be in Nashville, Tennessee in space.
Is that?
Sure.
Because it's really unclear what's happening over there. But that just adds to the humor of a human so lost on what's going on, but just kind of rolling with it. Yeah.
Oh, wait. Talking about like kind of like it's funny, slightly off-putting, whatever. I have to talk about Etho's Exciting Ninja Vacation, that series that's by like Normal KDF or something, and it's like it's a Naruto Hermitcraft fanfiction where somehow Etho ends up in the Naruto world where his Minecraft skin's based off Kakashi from there, and like he's interacting with people, and it starts off with like Obito, the main villain who used to know Kakashi, like meeting up with Etho thinking it's Kakashi, and it's like, but that's not right. And then it kind of goes in to Etho meeting up with the team that Kakashi's supposed to train, and like teaching them redstone, and it just slowly gets more and more insane as like, you know what, I got this, I'm a teacher now.
It's really funny. It's really funny. They just went, you know what, we're taking he's Kakashi really seriously. He's there now, figure it out.
It's like I love crossovers that's like there's angst potential, but don't worry about it,
because there's how do I phrase this? I really enjoy when stories do flesh out what's going on in the world and type of thing, but I really enjoy when they leave some things up to the imagination, especially the kind of, hey, we're having on this track, but they've clearly written background stories going on, where it doesn't feel like the background characters are 2D and flat. You'll have this story. Something's going on over there. I'll leave up to you guys to figure that out. Congrats. And if you beg enough, we'll give you a side story.
Oh, I know I should let you list some fanfictions, but like just on that topic, hear me out. There's a Dream SMP series called Orphan's Path, and it starts off with just like this like AU kind of fantasy-esque Techno and Philza. They meet up, and it's like, that's a weird-looking orphan, but okay. It's by like a whole bunch of different people.
Weird-looking orphan.
And it deals with like this fantasy world of like, I think it's Philza meeting a weird looking Technoblade as a child, and then it kind of expands into this greater universe. And like the first one got so popular, then they started writing side stories, and then they started writing side stories for the side characters, and then it just kept going and going. And it's like, I think there's like 40 something separate fan fictions for this one AU, and it's like people just kept asking them to write more, and they kept doing it.
If the author has inspiration, I'm all for it. It's especially for some of the really long stories. I really enjoy myself a long story, but it's hard to kind of find them, especially when so many of them are works in progress that took like 5 years to write. And so when people write short stories in the same AU, I'm all for it. It helps me find these individual ones. These, hey, what's this? This is a weird AU. What's the main story? Ho, that's fantastic. I want it all right now. And there's 52 others. It's great. I want it. I want all of them to be like that.
Ooh, now I got another one I want to talk about. But do you have one that you want to throw in for this?
It's not a Hermitcraft one, a Minecraft one.
That's
I
fine.
think I've
Mine
told you
wasn't
before.
either.
I've not watched or read My Hero Academia, but I read fanfiction for it. Key example, Data Stream.
Yes.
Do you know
Continue.
this?
Continue. Keep talking. Go ahead.
Yeah. Um, this guy, this kid, just goes, you know what? I'm gonna do stuff. I'm gonna do stuff, and I don't remember like anything about it other than hacker, far too good for what he's doing. He's like weirdly good for his age and what he's doing, and just hasn't gotten in trouble at this point. And I remember at least some really good humor in getting into that kind of story. So I don't know. I would have to reread it to give you more, but it's one of the key ones that I remember. You don't have to be in that fandom to read it. You have a little less understanding of what's going on, but like, since when do people fully comprehend stories anyway?
Exactly. Now, I actually have a fanfiction I really want to talk about. That's an AU of a different fanfiction.
Okay.
No, but it's like an AU of So, how to explain this? It's like a fanfiction Ficulet February challenge or whatever. And it's like, hey, write an AU of one of your own fanfictions. And so this person had a crossover of Yu Yu Hakusho and My Hero Academia. I love Yu Yu Hakusho. Talked about it many times before. Not many people are really in that fandom nowadays, but it's so freaking good. And like this original like fan fiction was like, hey, what if the main character of Yu Yu Hakusho, Yusuke, ended up being the mentor for Izuku, who is the main character of My Hero Academia, a superhero wannabe who doesn't have any superpowers. And then this AU, it's like, what if instead of Yusuke, the main character of Yu Yu Hakusho, it's Hiei, the kind of angsty side character who goes through like a lot of emotional turbulation. And like this ficlet was originally meant to be an AU of the original story, ends up turning into like a 33 chapter over like almost 200,000 words, and it's called Spark It, Light It Up in the Darkness. And it's so freaking good. And I'm like, sometimes you have an idea and then someone says, but what if a little to the left? And then the little to the left is everything it needs.
It's really cool to watch someone inspire others. And fanfiction and fan works like this are really, really good at it. Of, hey, we're going to inspire a whole bunch of other things because we just offhandedly mentioned this guy said. The stuff people have done with Evil Exuma, are you kidding me?
Oh, everything you can do with Evil Azuma. I love that.
It's that somebody went, this exists. No, Exuma himself went, this exists. And the fandom went, yes, but a little to the left.
But a little to the left. Oh, wait, can we talk about Redstone and Skulk?
Sure, if I remember what that one is.
So Redstone and Skulk is a Hells-based AU where it actually focuses on Tanguish, which is the fandom's version of Tango's Hells. Now, Tango doesn't have a Hells in Hermitcraft, but the Hells AU is like, well, you have Hells Knight, who talks about being from a Hells dimension. What if every person has a Hells?
My favorite hellsmate of Tango is Samba.
Yeah, but like Redstone and Skulk, it deals with like Tanguish, and then like they exist in the Hells dimension, and it fleshes out this whole world that like even in these AUs they don't really talk about. And he's interacting with Hell's Knight, and they have a very angsty moment of like, well, Wells hates Hells or Hell's Knight, and so therefore all Hells must be bad. And then he tries to target Tanguish, who's like legitimately trying to help Tango deal with Decked Out and stuff. And it just goes on this whole thing, and it's like this was an AU dealing with characters that don't even exist, and yet it is everything. And it's also a slow burn fantasy. Like, excuse me. Yes.
Oh. The ability to create, quote, fan fictions that are so far removed from the original works, but are like brilliant pieces. You kind of want to override the original story in your brain and just replace it with that. You have these things created. It's just, I have so much admiration for people who do writing. You change out the names and suddenly you have a novel. Like what?
Yeah, like a lot of fan fictions can't make that transition because there's such a fundamental need to like understand pre-existing characters in fanfiction. They don't take the time to stop and explain people and things and their connections because they assume the people reading them are going to have that knowledge. But when you start doing things like Redstone and Sculpt, where you're making a whole new world to exist in a pre-existing one, then you can do something more with that.
When you get into AUs, like, there's a specific AU, I'm gonna have to remember what it's called in a second. I'm trying to pull it up right now. Where it's basically a fantasy AU of Hermitcraft, and it has this running series where there's fantasy slavery, basically, but you have these different things where, like, Tango has been in the system for a while, but then Zedaf, a master smith, comes up to Tango and is like, "Oh, you're so cool! Can you control your fire? Yeah? Can you control its temps, kind of? Yeah? Oh, you would make a great partner to help me with my smithing work and stuff. I'm for sale. Oh! Well, you're my best friend now. We're having soft tacos later."
We're having soft tacos later.
And we do this with several of the hermits, basically, and slowly have them gathering together, and even non-hermits, we have, like, Jimmy and Scott and stuff in these different side stories. This fantasy AU, they had to kind of establish who the characters are, what they look like, all that things, because it is in a completely different world than where we pulled the characters from. The characters have connected personalities, but, like, not really. There's the Green. It's like, yes, I am silent. I am silent and good and quiet. Good Times with Scar says that I should sit at the table and talk with him. I'm not sure how I feel about this.
Yeah,
So,
those kind of fan fictions is like someone had an idea and then just put pre-existing names to them so people would read it. And I'm like, I'm not necessarily mad about that, you know?
no, if it's the kind of thing that you can read, then it's a really good thing. It's it is really touch and go if people will enjoy it or not, because some people really don't like completely disconnected stories, but I'll eat up just about everything in fandoms I know nothing about. So, you know what? I'm down. It's good story writing, so we're here. I'll read it. It's the Traveling Thieves Dark Fantasy AU.
Ooh, I think I've seen that. I don't believe I've read it because I typically avoid fantasy AUs as well.
There's 53 works in the series.
Ooh, that's a lot of work.
So I'd be surprised if you've never seen them.
I've probably seen it then. Yeah, I normally really don't like superhero AUs. I've talked about this before. I think they're all very kind of, I don't want to say repetitive, but it's like, you know, give people different hero names, give people different hero powers, but when one hero fanfiction gets popular, then suddenly everyone is using that as the template for their new superhero fanfiction, and I'm like, change it up. The superhero fanfiction I do want to recommend, though, is a Dream SMP one called The Medroom is Labeled, Goddamn, by Skip Count Want. And it is one that actually focuses on Ponk, dropped by Ponks. And it's just like, Ponk is just like a medic who works out of their apartment. And, you know, it doesn't matter. No heroes, no villains, no vigilantes. Nobody can find it. He just wants to work on things until things go horribly, horribly wrong, including the warden, who is totally not Sam. And then the blood vines and, like, the egg gets involved. And it's like, it focuses so much on, like, I don't want to say the side stories of the Dream SMP, but like the not Tommy Innit stories. And when superhero fan fictions got popular, it was always Tommy Innit focused because that was the first one that got popular. It's like Tommy Innit's clinic or medic for superheroes or whatever. It's like, no, let's focus on everyone else and deal with like all the angst and drama that hasn't been talked about in superhero fan fictions yet.
It is always fun to me because part of the appeal of the media that I consume, specifically the kind of Hermitcraft, Dream SMP, but it's not just that. It's not just Minecraft, but when I'll go with the phrase indie creations, where you don't have a specific main character, it creates so much more potential, and it does disappoint me sometimes that the fandom hasn't assigned main characters.
Like, just because one person's more popular than the others doesn't mean the others don't matter in their own stories.
And getting to see some of the more fleshed out stories that don't have the same thing is always refreshing. I personally disagree with the it's always the same. I love the always the same, but slightly different. Love it to death.
I just
Give me
need
the same thing.
variety.
No, I have variety, but I also want the same exact story for the 50th time.
Well, talking about the same exact story for the 50th time, time loops. We've talked about this before.
Time loops?
Now, you said you had a one that you wanted to talk about. Did you pull that up?
I did?
I don't know, maybe. I got one I want to talk about, but I feel like I'm
I
running
had
the
one I
show
was
on
going
the
to talk about, but I
fanfiction,
didn't
so.
think I said that out loud.
Well, I have Go Full Circle and then Go Again, which is a...
Oh, thank God, that's the one I was thinking.
Okay. It's a Third Life one that deals with Impulse. Impulse being the main character. In Third Life, originally, Impulse was kind of like dealing with spy work, which I need to go watch his perspective because that sounds amazing. And then at the end of Third Life, he dies. And then what if we set back the clock and we start from the beginning and it's loops. It's loops. It's incomplete, but it's time loop. I don't actually care about that. And it deals with so many, and each time it feels like, oh, he's going to win this one. Oh, he's going to figure something out. Oh, well, like, each loop, they're long, and they feel important.
They're fleshed out. It's not just another loop happened. It's every single moment in every day going through slowly, and then going, do it all again. All of your progress wiped. You died again. Do it again. And, like, he forgets at a point that he's friends with these people outside of the game because he's just been doing this for several loops and he's gonna die and has no way of going home. And I'm so upset that it's not been updated in, like, a year because it's my favorite time loop right now.
Updated 2023.
Miss you! Arthur, if you're out there, I miss you! You're so good at this!
Comment on fanfiction, please. Please, I beg. Please come back to us.
I refused to directly ask authors, hey, can you come back and continue this? I'll do compliments on things, but it feels rude, I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I'm also a fanfiction author who has not completed their fanfiction. I'm like literally I'm on the last chapter and I'm like stuck on paragraph 1 and I don't know how to do this.
I need to update mine. It's a problem.
The person who does my hair wants to turn one of their fan fictions into a novel, and so bleaching my hair takes a while. So we sit down and we literally spend the whole time talking about fan fiction. And I know I have a hair appointment tomorrow, and I know she's gonna look at me and it's like, "Oh, did you finish your fan fiction?" And I'm gonna have to look at her and I wrote one sentence since you last saw me 2 months ago. Yeah. And I'm prepared for the disappointment.
This is not on other people's fanfictions, but one of the things I enjoy about how I write is that if I don't know exactly what to do, I'll just do like a whole bunch of parentheses with like parentheses, we meet up with this guy, parentheses, he is sad about this, parentheses, next, they walk into the building. And just do a whole bunch of those and then go back and expand out each thing.
Yeah, I need to outline my chapters more. That would help so much.
It's funny when I get my beta reader or my co-writer or depending on what story, and they'll find a section I never expanded and it's like, well, 5,000 word story and at 3,000 words we just have a parentheses that says, cry. Darn it, I never wrote it out. Oh,
time to go back and add more in.
Time to go back in and add cry, I guess. I suppose. A thing?
Okay, oh my god, I was scrolling through Tumblr the other day, as I do, because that is my default social media. And someone's like, hey, there's this fanfiction I read once upon a time, and I don't remember the name. Here's the vagueness that I can kind of, and I look at it and I go, that's Covet by Ocean Breeze 7. And it's just, yes. I hate it when people do it on AO3. It's like, post a whole AO3 thing to fill up the tags of like, I can't find this fan fiction. Like, you're on AO3, you can probably find it. But like when you're on Tumblr or if you're on like TikTok or someone, it's like someone's vaguely describing something and like, usually when people are talking about it, I can clock it pretty quickly if I've read it.
Since I started posting the things that I'm writing, I found out my favorite people are the other authors. Like, you get to learn usernames. With a few exceptions, there's a few authors that I adore that I'm looking at my bookmarks now and going, wait a minute, that's a frequent commenter of mine. I've bookmarked their story for
I know
couple
you.
years. I know you. Squill, what are you doing here?
Squill, what have you done? Oh god, I talked about Covet. Now I feel like I need to talk. Covet is bottom hole Eldritch horror in there. What is it? Oh, it's Agreeant. They don't know what Agreeant is though. That's a good one. I like that one.
He's a something.
That's for sure.
Something on there.
I mean, like, people finding Green on the Hermitcraft server has been like a classic since Green has joined the Hermitcraft server. I just love how like every time there's a new season, they push him back into the current season. It's no longer like, yeah, they found Green and washed ashore on season 6. It's now, yeah, they found Green and crash land into the Hermitcraft server on season 8. It's like, where was he before? Not on Hermitcraft.
Craft like I said. A good version of that is the Void speaks to me. Rather than he's coming to Hermitcraft for the first time, he is still Watcher lore stuff. He just accidentally got dragged back to the Watcher thing, and they wiped his memory. So he's back on the server. He has no memories of it, but everyone around him is like, "Hey, Grian, good to see you."
It's like, I don't
Finally,
know what's going
welcome
on,
back.
but okay.
He's sitting there. Who's Grian?
Yes, I can do this.
Yeah, that's me. That's me.
Mm-hmm.
Who is that? And that's one of the better ones that I've read of current season. It's technically season 9, but it was current.
It was current when it was there. Yeah. We're so over time now, but I still got like 4 more fan fictions I pulled up I want to talk about. Do you have any you want to?
Part 2.
Okay, I'll go first. Be the Death of Me. This is a Gods AU where Grian is like a thief and he's running away and he accidentally stumbles upon like a half-destroyed shrine and he uses it as sanctuary, and then like totally this person who's the priest of the shrine shows up and like makes Grian work for him because he slightly destroyed the shrine, and then it ends up being Scar and Grian, and Scar is totally not the god. No, what are you talking about? And it's a bit, I don't want to say a slow burn, it's only 9 chapters, but like it's a bit of a shippy one, and it starts off it's like I'm just here to help, and then it ends up with like, well, now you can't get rid of me.
Is one of the best things. Supernatural characters just going, you know what? You're mine now.
You're mine now.
I'm your friend.
We're having soft tacos later.
You're my friend now. We're having soft tacos later. It's bad. It's part of my vocabulary. I say it too frequently. Say your thing so we don't go 50 minutes overtime.
We're at 44 already.
Yeah. It's a problem. All I'm saying is we could keep doing this. That's all I'm saying. Ask for a part 2 and you might.
Ask for a part 2. I have so many. Okay, the next fanfiction is a Bleach one, actually. I've talked about this so many times on live streams with Steady Steps by Lady KG. If you know Bleach, it is... main character at one point in time loses his powers and he kind of goes through a really depressive spiral because no one from the supernatural world comes to help him during that time, and this fan fiction takes that moment that the original canon really like glosses over. It's a time skip, honestly, but it's like, okay, what if he throws away the symbol of his power, and in that moment he unlocks the yokai world, because like in Bleach it deals with like Shinigami and like soul reapers and all that jazz, but like yokai, i.e. like demons and stuff, is a whole nother world. It's like if you're in one you cannot be in the other, and he, after throwing away the symbol of his power, he can go into this other world, and it's incomplete and it breaks my heart, but it's so freaking good.
Yeah. I love a good break your heart, but it's the best thing you've read.
It's the best thing ever. It's the best. Okay, your turn.
We say about 15 stories.
You say about, yeah, they're all the best.
They are all the best story ever, and you can't fight me on this. I'll try to be quick because I need you to get through yours. One of the shorter ones that I've recommended. 5 times Scar couldn't speak, plus 1 time he didn't have to.
Oh.
It's close to home. Let me eat it up. It's so sad. It's so sad. It's so sad. Scar with selective mutism. Grian confronting that man and being like, please, you haven't talked to anyone in months. Just tell me what's going on. And Scar's just facing the wall, hand over his mouth. What do you want me to do, bud?
It's what we gotta
No.
do.
That is not what he's thinking, by the way, but that's my humorous interpretation of that scene. Is what's going on? Dude, I physically cannot speak. What do you want from me? Communicate with you? Okay, let me just cry at you then, okay? Is this what you want? And Green's like, oh, okay, so we are going to help you now. Good to know. So sorry. Let me get everyone to apologize to you now.
All right. Okay. And I'm going to blitz through my next one. Treasure for Treasures, Pearl Pales in Your Eyes by the writer DJ. Now, this is a One Piece fanfiction that was originally brought to me saying, hey, Technoblade does technically show up in this. It is 100% a One Piece fanfiction and has nothing to do with, like, any of the MCYT people other than, like, the author was like, I'll just throw in, like, a nice little, like, hey, do you know this guy? Don't worry. He's also here. It's basically... Monkey D. Luffy is the child of one of the gods that the world government has tried to suppress. And it follows very much the canon of the main story, but it deals with things much more character-focused and character drama and dealing with concepts of religion that One Piece really doesn't touch upon because, again, so much of religion in the One Piece world is suppressed by the world government, and it just kind of takes concepts and expands upon it and puts personhood to it, which, I love it when they put personhood to ideas. 10 out of 10.
I love when they reference other fandoms in the background as just like a, hey, if you know, you know.
If you know, you know.
All of the other ones on my list are shorter ones that I can talk about some other time.
No, you gotta do one more.
Okay. No, we already talked about Catamunch pigeons. A Tangled Haunt.
Ooh.
Phasmophobia and Hermitcraft. Except for, you know what? This is slightly spoiler, but I think you can enjoy it regardless of if you know this at the beginning or not. Grian and the Gigs crew, which is Grian, Impulse, Gem, or Good Times with Scar, depending. It's Good Times with Scar on this one, and Skiz, go to this haunt and are like, we're gonna find out what the ghost is. And then they're like, there's 3 ghosts here. Maybe, 3, maybe 4? I don't remember. Oh, and look at this one. Why is Grian reacting like that? Oh, we get back into the van. Turns out that's Grian's ghost. He died there.
Oh, that's not great.
His ghost. Grian's ghost of himself when he was small is like, that's my body. And he comes back. And so we have a couple moments of like Skiz being, are you aware you have another soul attached to you? It's mine! You can't take it from me!
You can't. Okay. It's me. It's me. It was always me.
Yeah, but he doesn't say that. He just says, it's mine. You can't take it. And so they're just concerned for a while until they figure it out. Of, this is a really weird ghost haunt.
Things are suspicious. Okay. My last fanfiction, I promise you I'll be really quick about it. Wait, I'm a What? By Adelie Blackcharm. Now, this is a Danny Phantom DC crossover. And you know I freaking love Danny Phantom DC crossover. Basically, Clockworks from the Danny Phantom world drops Danny off in Gotham. And it's like, hey, don't worry about it. Just take care of the people that you end up being around. And due to just Danny's general unsettling nature, because he is half ghost. Hey, I think we noticed a trend in the things we like. Half dead? I don't know, maybe. Basically, it leads to like him wanting to protect the people around him in a city filled with crime lords, and so people just kind of assume he's an up and coming crime lord, which he did not know about. He's just like very happy. It's like, yeah, and I'm here now, and I'm going to protect the people around me. And people were like, oh, crime lord? Yes, I will follow you because you are nice. And it's just, it ends up spiraling into this, like, is miscommunication in the best way possible because man does not know he's being miscommunicated about.
But rumors spread. And guess what? His reputation precedes him.
Yes, I love it. So that was the last fanfiction we had to throw in because I wasn't going to let you go with the Danny Phantom DC crossover not on the table.
Okay.
And we're technically under an hour, and we're doing great.
Lovely. Those with shorter attention spans are gonna have a hard time with this one.
No, we got a request for a longer episode, and now they're going to
Okay.
regret it.
Okay, well, yeah.
Yeah, well, we'll put a list of the fan fictions we talked about on our Tumblr so you can go through them and go, wow, we were right about everything.
While we're editing this, it's just gonna be, okay, this name. Search this up. Okay, Andy, where's this one? I can't find it. And it's just going to be editing, listing these things.
No, I put in our Discord chat of like the research. Here's 27 tabs.
My goodness me.
Well, that's the ones I talked about. Don't forget to add yours in so I can like put them on the website.
I don't remember which ones I've talked about and which ones you talked about.
You had the list open.
I have my bookmarks open. You think I talked about all of my bookmarks?
And this is why I said you gotta put them into a functional tab-based... Fine.
I like having only a few tabs.
No.
We'll talk to you later.
Okay, goodbye.
Bye, guys.
Thank you for listening to this episode of FanDive. We'll be back again next Monday diving into yet another fandom. Have a topic you would like us to cover? Head over to our website, fandive.tumblr.com. There you can also find any episode relevant images and general shenanigans that we get up to. It is Tumblr after all. We're not ashamed of being fans of things.